On this Sunday evening Bhagavad Gita session. We are continuing with the first chapter. So in the first chapter, we have seen specific slokas in which Arjuna is trying to find out all kind of reasons not to perform his duty. So we are continuing this particular section. And the first chapter is divided into four major categories, as I mentioned earlier. One is about the introduction between the discussion between Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya, understanding who's all present, and then Duryodhana also talking, and then followed by a detailed description of who's present in both the sides and how is it structured, everything. And then Arjuna and Krishna coming in, and Arjuna is asking who's present, and then from there onwards, Arjuna seeing his own friends and relatives and everybody, and he starts his lamentation. He starts his worrying part. Okay? The main understanding from this particular chapter is how do we understand Arjuna is the very important point. Second important point is how Arjuna's lamentation or Arjuna's worry is all about not to fight. So the understanding that we get from this chapter is performance of a particular duty requires a lot of conviction, lot of courage and lot of encouragement also. In this material world, right? Somebody for example, you have to send somebody to school. You have to motivate them, right? Without motivation, now in this world, nothing can be done. That is the hard part. Either it will be self-motivation or somebody has to motivate, right? So that is where you see where Arjuna's lamentation is like kind of pushing him not to perform his duty. Okay? And in one angle, Krishna is giving that particular boost, or Krishna is giving that motivation to perform it is his duty, he is supposed to do, but he is not doing it. So Krishna steps in to give that particular motivation. Okay? So that is what we are seeing the last 3-4 sessions or at least 6-7 sessions. And this particular sloka, today's sloka, is very interestingly on Varnashrama Dharma. Okay? Quickly going through, these are all some of the things that we have already understood. What is the first sloka, Duryodhana's position, and then other position also we have seen. And Arjuna is giving lot of reasons, right? One is about happiness, second is about sin, third is about Kshatriya accepting certain aspects, fourth is family tradition, fifth is what will happen after this. Like I kill somebody, then I become a king or I get a kingdom, what will happen after that? So that is also very important. One is performing an action, what is the result of it, and then after that result that is over, but afterwards what will happen? So Arjuna is kind of little more going to the next step, like little more intelligent way of finding like, no, today it is all okay, what happens tomorrow? What happens after the next birth? So he's going to the next step also. Okay? And then he's talking about this particular section. So we have seen this earlier, Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya discussion. And then Duryodhana talking to his Acharya, Dronacharya, and then how those special pointers, and then all the different kind of men blowing their conch also we have seen. And then exactly Arjuna asking Krishna and taking him to a particular exact position and say who is there, Pashetan. Like I want to see who has come to fight with me. So that is the question. And then afterwards, just by seeing them, Arjuna starts lamenting. Arjuna starts worrying. Arjuna starts feeling very uneasy. Gandivam Shamate Hastam. His Gandivam, his hands becoming trembling. He said, I cannot, suddenly. Before just 15-20 minutes, he was very bold, very strong and said, yes, I'm going to fight, let me see. But immediately after that, he just changes. Right? So what is that change and why is that change? That is what we need to understand from the first chapter. When you see Arjuna, what is the transformation that has happened? Where is that melting point? Last time also, the melting point is very, very important. And that melting point blossomed into him, bringing him as a very nice devotee. That is where we can see. Today's sloka is this, Surakshaya Pranashanti, Sura Dharma Sanatana, Dharme Nashte Kulam Krishna. He's talking about two important aspects. One is Sanatan Dharma, and then specifically going into the next level. Sanatana Dharma is very universal. It's for everybody, common. It is applicable. It is universal to everybody. It's not only in India. It is across the entire universe. That is what is called as universal. The next point is going to the next one. Kulam. Kulam means that particular sect, that particular society. So very importantly, he's trying to cover two aspects. One is full entire large spectrum of all the assembled persons, and then one particular set of people. Okay, that is how he's trying to address. Okay, and then dharme nashte kulam krishnam adharmo bhavat. So that is what he is. So today, for next 15-20 minutes, let us try to contemplate on these two aspects. What is meant by Sanatan Dharma, and then what is meant by Kula Dharma. So tomorrow somebody is going to ask you, what is Sanatan Dharma? What you will say?
It's eternal.
It is eternal. Sanatana means eternal. Okay, then anything else?
It's eternal and it's the way of life.
It's the way of life. Very good. Okay, way of life. Yes. Anybody? Following the different orders, that is the Varna Ashrama. That is at the society level. This is one step above that. Dharma. Dharma means it is for everybody. Like law, rules of the land applies to anybody. For example, rules of the land of Singapore applies to anybody. Right? So that is Sanatan Dharma. The next, whatever Prabhuji said is the next one. Specifically to that particular. I am following Kshatriya Dharma. I am following Brahmana Dharma. I am following this Dharma. That is then one level. This is the first level. Okay. What is that? That's what we are going to just try to understand. Okay. And Prabhupada in the introduction of this Bhagavad Gita gives a very detailed understanding what is meant by Sanatana Dharma. So if you have not read it, take your Bhagavad Gita book, go to the introduction portion. Prabhupada gives a very detailed understanding of what is meant by Sanatana Dharma. Nowadays everybody say, no, are we called as Hindus? No, we are followers of Sanatana Dharma. Nowadays it has become a trend to say, no, we are not Hindus. We are beyond that Hindu philosophy. We are beyond the word Hindu. We are not, Hindu is a coined word. So many things are happening. But what we follow is called as Sanatana Dharma. Right? So what is that Sanatana Dharma? That is very importantly to be understood. 5 major aspects of Sanatana Dharma. What are the 5 major aspects of Sanatana Dharma? Is this one. Satyam, Dhaya, Ahimsa, Saucham and Kartavya. Why? Because Arjuna is bringing that very important point. All these 5 are upholding or done by great responsible leaders, great responsible men, family, head of the family, head of the society, everybody. Which means, one is about that particular individual society going down. Second is, the entire spread of the society also will get destroyed. Very important. That is why the upholding of Sanatana Dharma is very important. Tomorrow if somebody is going to ask you what is meant by Sanatana Dharma, at least try to remember these 5 words. Our Shastra Pramanam, our Vedic literatures, our Puranas, Itihas, everything will revolve around these 5 major topics, 5 major aspects. You take any story in Ramayana, in Mahabharata, it will have this connection. Anything about truth, anything about ahimsa, something about purity, something will be there. Any story you take, or any singing, any prayer, everything will revolve around this main question. And this is very core principle. It applies to everybody, not only within the Bharata Desha or somebody. It is for everybody. That is why it is called as universal principle. And it applies to any other religion. All religions will follow. All religions will follow. Okay? When you say truthfulness, everybody knows. Okay? Truthfulness means satyam, which means the more and more you are truthful, the more and more we are on the right track. The more and more we are away from truthfulness, we are not on the right track. I'll ask you one question. Why should I follow Sanatana Dharma?
So that the society will be
To purify yourself, to reach
One
the
by
God.
one. Mataji?
by following Sanatana Dharma, people will still have values.
People will have values. Okay. Mataji?
To purify ourselves, to go back to God.
purify ourselves to go back to God. Okay, then anybody? Even irreligious people should have to follow this. Even if they don't believe God, even atheists should have to follow this. Why? To live, to sustain, to grow, to develop requires all these 5 principal elements. And as Prabhuji mentioned and Mataji mentioned, that is the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate thing. I follow my karma, I follow the rules and regulations, I follow these things, principles very perfectly, so that I achieve my end result, my end goal. Okay, clear? Why are we emphasizing so much on this? Because this is the foundation. This foundation has to be very clearly understood. Because with this foundation only, Krishna will talk about the next aspects of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and all those things. And that is why Prabhupada emphasizes about Sanatana Dharma is very important. Because this applies to everybody, and we need to understand the concept of truthfulness. The qualities of a devotee, the qualities of a Vaishnava, like Prabhupada in the 16th chapter, in Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter, it is divided into two aspects. One is called as the qualities of a Devata or a Vaishnava, and then the qualities of a Daitya or an Asura. Two aspects. So in that, specifically Arjuna will talk about all these important aspects. Okay. Compassion, very very important. Even today in Maharaj class and so many things, compassion is very important. Very very important. Compassion, we don't show compassion, it means we cannot expect compassion. If we are not truthful, we cannot expect truth from others. If we are not responsible, we cannot expect responsibility from others. It applies to parents, it applies to father, mother, any role. Understood? That is why Arjuna is bringing. So it is not just ordinarily saying, hey, Kula Shakshay, Pranayashan. No. Got a lot of deeper understanding. Okay? Non-violence, ahimsa we all know. But more importantly, purity is also very important. Saucham. Okay? So this concept of these elements will be well dealt in the other sections of Bhagavad Gita in a very detailed way. Right? Saucham here means 2 types of saucham. What are they? Inner cleanliness and external, outer. Outer cleanliness, most of us will be like, to some extent, okay. But most importantly, inner cleanliness is very, very important. And Bhagavad Gita gives us an opportunity to identify and how do I maintain that inner cleanliness. Responsibility in Sanskrit is called kartavyam. Kartavya. And that responsibility is something that you cannot shut it out. You cannot say, no, I will not do it. It has to be there. The person born in this society has to follow this. No other. You cannot say, I am not educated. I have not gone into any school. I have not studied any literature. I have not studied any. No. This applies to all the ashramas also. Even a Shudra working in some particular factory also has to know it. How does they get it? Do they read the books? How?
From the society, family.
The elders demonstrated, the younger ones follow. It doesn't require any PhD, college, nothing. So Sanatana Dharma means, okay, if somebody is asking you what is Sanatana Dharma, at least you should be having 4 or 5 points to mention. Okay, Sanatana Dharma means these things, and this is how it is being identified. Hare Krishna. Okay.
They say the way of life.
Yes.
Actually, this is the reason, ultimate.
Correct. You are right. Somebody can read it. You want to read? Right, you want to read? No?
Sanatana Dharma means eternal duty or timeless natural law. It is not a religion in the modern sense, rather it is a set of universal principles that sustain harmony in life and society. The core ideas are truthfulness, satya, living aligned with truth, non-violence, ahimsa, minimizing harm, purity, shaucha, clarity of mind and action, compassion, daya, care for all beings, and responsibility, kartavya, doing one's rightful duty. It matters in Bhagavad Gita because Arjuna believes that war will destroy the very foundation of these principles, because moral knowledge is passed through families and elders. Yeah.
Okay, so moral knowledge, moral values is passed only through elders, only through parents, only through grandparents. Nobody will teach you Satyam, Saucham, Arjavam, all those things in college school. They will teach you only what? Mathematics, science, physics, chemistry, biology only. At least in our time we had moral science one class, one moral science. So that is why Arjuna had a very strong belief. So if you read through this, then you will feel, oh, Arjuna is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. If all the elderly people die, what will happen? Very difficult. Okay? So that is what Arjuna is. And to some extent, Krishna will say, yes, whatever you are saying is true. However, and then he will give the actual knowledge. Okay. So it's not the religion in the modern name. So be very clear. It's not a religion. Religion means a particular section, particular. It is beyond the concept of religion. Okay? Very clear. And most importantly, that sustains harmony in life and society. That is all. So it maintains balance actually. Sanatana Dharma maintains balance. Very importantly nowadays, the word Varnashrama Dharma is kind of mixed here and there. And we'll get into Varnashrama Dharma. So we are very clear about Sanatana Dharma. Okay? Okay. Now let's get into Varnashrama Dharma. Very simple, clear-cut understanding. Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am giving you Varnashrama Dharma. I am setting up the Varnashrama Dharma. Very clearly. For what purpose? To maintain the society, to focus all the people in one particular focused attention of performing their duties as per their Varna and Ashrama, and then come back to him. The goal is only same. So goal for everybody is same. Goal for a Shudra and goal for a Brahmana is same. There is no change in it. It's not that Shudra will be always working and he will be able to know. Many people have a totally different interpretation or representation that only Brahmanas will become or eligible to go back to this. No, absolutely no. In a temple society, for one person to perform a puja, it requires all four of them. Yes or no? People will assume that no, he is more qualified, he is only. No, actually no. But unfortunately, because of the misuse, because of the greed, I'm using the word greed, because of the greed of certain society, certain persons, it is getting exploited and then getting into various things. Otherwise, whatever Krishna has given is the perfect way. Is the most perfect way. That's what we will say. Okay. How do we understand between Varna and Ashrama? It's a matrix between Varna and the Ashrama. Everybody will have to, irrespective of whether it is male or female, everybody has to undergo the Ashrama, which means what? Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. Even a Shudra son will undergo Brahmacharya. It doesn't mean that he will go and do study books. No. He will undergo certain training. He will undergo some practical training classes. And he will also follow certain austerity. But many of the society people will think, oh, Brahmacharya means going to some Gurukulam and no. It involves every person's within their society. So let's be very clear on it. Okay. So it's not, and then it applies to men and women also. It's not only the boys will go here and there, girls no. It applies to both the class of. Okay. So these are all some of the ways. Okay, Brahmanas means these activities, Kshatriyas means this set of activities, Vaishyas means this set of activities, and Shudras means this set of activities. Okay, so let's be very clear on this. But what Prabhupada in the current society, let's talk a little bit about this concept called as Daiva Varnashrama. So now Krishna established Varnashrama 5000 years ago, and it was like prevailing, it was all kind of okay, and then it was like kind of happening. But later on, because of the greed, because of the selfishness, there's something called as Anuloma and Pratiloma. It's a concept called as Anuloma and Pratiloma. Pratiloma, Anuloma. So Pratiloma means from a higher society. For example, a Brahmana or a Kshatriya, male person marrying a Shudra girl or something. From top, from this side to this side. And the other side is called as Anuloma. A Shudra person marrying a Brahmana girl. Which means there is a mix. So in Bhagavatam there are so many stories. Because of this mix, so many things would have happened. And there are so many other reasons behind it also. For example, who is the mother of Vasudev?
Satyavati.
And what is her activity? Fisherman. But father is? Parashara Muni. He is a great Brahmana. Right? And then when Shantanu Maharaj comes to Mahabharata itself, nothing, Mahabharata, when Shantanu Maharaj comes and sees same. So even Mahabharata also, if you see, there are so many Pratiloma and Anuloma, so many mixes. But for all those mixes, there is a specific purpose also. For example, Vidura was born as a what? Servant maid. But we glorify Vidura. Vidura is the most intelligent person. So don't get focused on, oh, this is me, this. There's nothing like that. Even 5000 years ago. Okay, clear? But what our acharyas from the Sampradaya perspective, what is that we can survive? What is that we can see is this something called as Daiva Varnashrama, which means you keep the Supreme Lord in center. All your activities, all your tasks that you want to perform, in whatever way you want to do, you can continue to do, but focus more on having the Supreme Lord in center. Then it will be easy and peaceful. And in fact, Prabhupada mentions very clearly, we don't have to do so much of endurance. Simple living and fighting. Normal way of living is more than sufficient. That's what he said. Okay? So clear about Sanatana Dharma and Varnashrama Dharma. Okay, Varna and Ashrama. That is what is today's section. I am not going to go into the other sections of this chapter. Okay. So when Arjuna started, initially he had this particular thing called as compassion and emotional load. When he saw his own grandfather, uncles, maternal uncles, his father-in-law, everybody, the most important aspect of a particular person is the compassion coming out, an emotional quotient. So that is what triggered him to not to fight. Okay? That is first important. Okay? Why? Because he is very, very soft-hearted. Okay? Person outwardly might look very strong, built body, everything okay. But internally, Arjuna is the most soft-hearted person. And that is why Krishna says, you are the most qualified person. Externally we can be so many things. But how internally we are soft-hearted means what? We have to have that daya, have that compassion. Then you will get the knowledge. That is why Arjuna is qualified. Okay? And these are some of the reasons. Today, in today's section, whatever we are seeing is this one. Arjuna fears that war kills elders people who protect knowledge and values. That is what we saw. Right? There is this story also I told some time back. Once there was one foolish king, and then somebody told, no, our population is growing too much. So let us all remove all old people. So there are some ministers also, some intelligent ministers. No? They made some calculations, say all above 80 years, 90 years, you put them in jail or put them in something and then let them die. So this king also what he did, he ordered this thing, and then in the whole kingdom, all above 80 or 90, They just took them and put in the jail, and after once they go into jail, that's all. They cannot survive more, and many of them started dying. After few months, what happened? The kingdom had a lot of problems. In the sense, there was no rain, there was famine, there was lot of drought, and all kind of people were trying to do anything they were trying to do. Nothing was happening. There was no rain also, and because for their sustenance they have to do farming, right? They have to do some cultivation. They have to have some cultivation. So everybody were trying to struggle. I mean, everybody were trying all their means. All the so-called intelligent people, nothing happened. Okay. But in that entire kingdom, one particular person's land alone, agriculture land here, and his land alone was somehow thriving and surviving. And he was able to cultivate. He was able to grow the crop. He was able to bring everything, and then he was making money also, of course. And all the other farmers were completely shocked. How this happened? How this happened? And the news went to the king. And the king asked him, how did this happen? How did this happen? And he told him, no, it is my intelligence only. No, you tell the truth. Then the farmer will say, I will tell the truth, but you should spare something. What is it? I have my old grandfather. I hid him in my room. Okay, bring your grandfather. And then what did you know? No, my grandfather told me the technique, even in drought, how to do cultivation. The same applied in others. There was in South India, there was a person who was running a hotel, a small restaurant, you can say. And nowadays, restaurants, the trend changes, right? Earlier there was some type of restaurants, now another type of restaurants. So after some time, the restaurant business went down. The same thing, he called his Tata, he called his grandfather, and then somehow made another way of making different type of dishes, and then his business again boomed. So like this, there are a lot of practical lessons, which means what? The knowledge and experience and the values come from elderly. Okay? That is very important. So they uphold traditions, they uphold rituals, moral discipline, and education also. So their death means what? Nobody will be able to guide them. Okay? That is the most important. Okay? And then when families break, society loses structure and adharma rises. Okay? The next sloka is all about Varna Shankaraha. The word Shankaraha is used. The word Shankar. Shankara means what? Shankar means Lord Shiva. Correct? Shankara was. But what does he do actually? Destruction. So the word Shankara refers to pralayam or complete destruction. That is why he is called as Shankara. The word Varna Shankara comes from that particular aspect. Okay. So Kula Dharma Nashtam. So this is all about Kula Dharma. So we saw Sanatan Dharma, we saw Varnashrama Dharma, now we are seeing Kula Dharma. That particular for example, you kill in one family, in one society, you kill all the pot making persons. Who will be affected?
The whole society.
Whole society. You might think, only pot, no, what is that? It applies everything. Somebody thinks, okay, I will remove all the flower persons. That's all. We might think it's a small aspect of it. But every small aspect of it has got a value in it. You may not understand it. You might think, oh, it is replaced by this, it is replaced by this. But that is not the factor. That is not the part of it. Okay? That is what he is talking about. Most important, lots of spiritual practice. What is to be done, what is not to be done. How to do it, and what is the ways and means to achieve the goal. So those are all the things that will be given by the elderly persons. Okay? So these are all some of the reasons. Okay? And let's quickly finish it up with something called as Arjuna's emotional part. Okay? Arjuna is not afraid of dying. If you make it very clearly, Arjuna is not afraid of dying. He is ready to die only. But most importantly, he is afraid of being the cause. He is saying, at some point of time, I am ready to be killed. So he puts away his Gandiva, he puts away everything. And he says, okay, I am ready to be killed. But I don't want to be the cause of something happening in the next generation. Then somebody will say, Arjuna only killed this person. And because of Arjuna killed. the entire society went down. Right? That is what people will say, right? How did this happen? No, Arjuna is a great warrior. He came, he killed everybody. And because Arjuna killed, everybody died and nobody is there to guide the people. Who's the cause? Arjuna is the cause. Correct, no? Logically correct. Absolutely correct. Nobody can argue. Right? And there are other, these are all the next ones that will come. He thinks after everybody killed, who will be there too? These are all the next ones. We'll continue on this next one. We'll conclude with this particular section. This will be Arjuna's lot of reasons not to fight, but for all those reasons, Krishna will give a specific, right, direct answers to it. Okay. So, and those answers are more authentic, more value, and then we will say yes. But now, if you see from an Arjuna standpoint of view, correct, yes, we should not kill. Let's stop the war. Better to have a peace and then let it go. Okay. But Krishna will bring those specific points. What is that? Arjuna's concern is more about attachment, and then his compassion is completely misunderstood. In the next sections, we will see how Arjuna's compassion is misunderstood and how his neglect of his duty as a Kshatriya. So, duty of a Kshatriya is more important than not performing an action. Okay, that is what you will see. So, what is more important is the right action. Second is duty without attachment, eternal nature of the soul, true meaning of dharma. These are all the points that will come in the next sections. I think I will stop here. So whatever Arjuna will talk about happiness also. Everything will go away. But what Prabhupada is saying, whatever happiness that you have is temporary. Whatever coming will have an end at any point of time. Sorry, at some point of time. Stop here. Maybe I'll stop with this particular thing. Can somebody read? We'll stop with this.
The Bhagavad Gita can be consulted in all critical times, not only for solace from all kinds of mental agonies, but also for the way out of great entanglements which may embrace one in some critical hour.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Arjun ki jai. Hare Krishna.